John Scott, and this is the Fox Report. It's the bottom of the hour, if you're just joining us. The president pledging to end birthright citizenship and use active duty military troops to try to stop a caravan of migrants from crossing our southern border in the final week leading up to the midterms. Garrett Tenney has more from Washington. Garrett.
Well, John, the president wants to make this election about the issue of immigration. In addition to deploying the troops, he's talked about ending birthright citizenship, changing our asylum policies, and rolling out a new policy on family separation. The White House says the exact details and timing of those new plans won't be revealed quite yet, though, maybe sometime next week or later down the road. What that talk has done, though, is allow the president to keep the issue of immigration and border security in the headlines and on the minds of voters just ahead of the midterms. At nearly every rally, including the one he held this afternoon in Montana, the president's used the migrant caravan that's coming up through Mexico as a basis to attack Democratic policies and play up his narrative that the left is weak on crime.
Democrats want to invite caravan after caravan of illegal aliens to flood into your communities, depleting our resources and overwhelming our nation. And what do they really want? The right to vote, because they figure that's the way they stay in office forever.
While most Democratic candidates are avoiding the issue of immigration altogether and are instead focusing on health care, that isn't the case for former President Barack Obama. At a rally last night in Georgia, Obama said sending 5,000 troops to the border just days before an election is nothing more than a political stunt.
They are telling you that the biggest threat to America, the biggest threat is some impoverished refugees 1,000 miles away, on foot, got their babies with them, broke, got no money.
Remember, the midterms are about turnout and which party can get their voters to the polls. The White House believes immigration and border security will do that, and a lot of the GOP candidates are following suit with that philosophy. John?
Garrett Tenney. Garrett, thanks.
Got it.
So will immigration be the issue that decides these midterm elections, or will Democrats focus on health care end up paying off? Joining us now, Susan Ferricchio, chief congressional correspondent for the Washington Examiner. Is there sort of an overriding theme for this upcoming election, Susan?
Well, when you look at all the polls, the number one issue remains the economy, and then taxes, then health care. Immigration is not at the very top of the list, but it is something the president is talking about. But he's sort of combining it when he goes on the campaign trail. He says, look, Republicans are about a strong economy and keeping you safe, national security. He kind of combines the two themes. So for Republicans, yes, it is a big overarching theme. And for the Democrats, it's sort of a way to counter the Republican argument. They're saying, if you heard President Obama yesterday in both Florida and Georgia, where he talked about sending troops to the border and calling it a political stunt and making it sound like we're taking on something that really is not a big threat to the United States and that the president is really cruel and the Republican agenda is not something that resonates with Americans. So they're sort of countering the Republican argument. But as you said at the top, it really is about which side is able to rally their base. So you see both parties trying to use that to get their own voters out. But for Democrats, it's really about health care. They're trying to push the idea that, look, we want to protect Obamacare. If you put Republicans back in office and they stay in control of Congress entirely, they will be able to repeal the health care law and then thus end pre-existing condition protections and other protections that are in the Affordable Care Act. So they're really stressing that. So there's a kind of dual themes that each party is talking about.
New York Times with a kind of a slap at the president in a front page headline today. It reads, Trump's theme is outshining election gold, and says that the focus that the president is putting on immigration eclipses the very good job news in this country. Is he missing an opportunity there, or is the paper just taking a dig at him?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people saying that. First of all, Republicans are definitely touting the economy on the campaign trails. No question about that. And the president is also talking about the economy. But you cannot ignore what's happening south of the border right now. You know, these caravans are dominating the news. It's not just the president talking about it. It's the media reporting on it. The newspaper, the New York Times, and television news, we're all talking about what's happening with these caravans as they head north toward the south of the border here. And the president can't just stand there and do nothing. Don't forget, he campaigned on building a wall, which has not been built yet. So he really is in a tough position because he has to look tough on illegal border crossings. And, you know, I don't think he's ignoring the economy. I was just at a rally down in Florida, and he really talked about the economy quite a bit. And when I talked to voters and people who were coming in to see the president speak, they told me the reason why they wanted to vote for the Republican Party is because they felt the economy was doing so well and they wanted to keep all that going. I don't think Republicans are missing out on that opportunity. I just think they're talking about other stuff, too.
I want to play a couple of pieces of sound back to back. First, the current president and then the former president, and listen to the arguments that Donald Trump and Barack Obama are making.
America is booming. Republicans passed a massive tax cut for working families, and we will soon follow it up with another 10% tax cut for the middle class.
America's at a crossroads. The health care of millions is on the ballot. Making sure working families get a fair shake is on the ballot. But maybe most of all, the character of our country is on the ballot.
So for the sitting president, it's all about the economy. For the former president, it's all about health care.
They don't have much to campaign on, in all honesty. Democrat, look, the economy right now is moving along at such a stellar pace. The workforce, everybody's back working, jobs are up, the economy's doing well. You know, Republicans have so much to talk about in their favor. And Democrats, really, they don't have anything to criticize other than the threat of the health care law going away if Republicans stay in power. So they're emphasizing that. And what's the other thing they can emphasize? They can talk about the other thing that's a weak spot for Republicans. And they think that that would be Donald Trump's personality. They think the way the president's rhetoric turns people off. And Democrats feel they can capitalize on that by going on the campaign trail and saying, look, it's the character of the country that's at stake here. We have to, you know, put a check on President Trump by voting for Republicans. And of course, when you listen to the president speak yesterday, the ex-president, he didn't talk about Trump by name, but he was talking about the president. And that's really what midterm elections are about. They're often about the current president, and whether you support him or you want to put a check on him. And that's what we're going to see this coming Tuesday.
Right.
Really, where do Americans come down on that?
We'll know what the country thinks. Susan Ferricchio, Washington Examiner. Thanks.
Thanks.
More than